he's concerned that Keir Starmer's government seems to be having these catastrophic problems with Rayner, with Lord Mandelson. Not only that, Mandelson and the Trump administration had, projects in process, trade deals and technology deals and things like that. And this is certainly very disruptive.
Now, President Trump will be arriving in the UK tomorrow on his state visit, and he'll undoubtedly receive a warm greeting at Windsor Castle. But he won't get an entirely cordial welcome. A Trump Not Welcome rally is also planned for Wednesday, and a huge 24-hour police and security operation will be in place throughout the stay. Do we need to be really rolling out the red carpet for the president? My next guest certainly thinks so. So Lee Cohen is a former advisor on Great Britain to the US House of Representatives Foreign Affairs Committee. Good evening to you, Lee.
Good evening, Carol. It's a pleasure to be with you. And I have to say, it's an honor to be speaking to a legend of news.
Well, thank you so much for that. So kind of you. Let me ask you, first of all, what you think President Trump will be hoping for from this visit, apart from, of course, a very lavish state banquet with the King and other senior royals at Windsor Castle?
Well, I think this visit is a diplomatic coup, and I'm very happy to talk about this with you. There are complexities and mixed sentiments, certainly, as you've mentioned, surrounding Trump's official visit to Britain that mirror the divisiveness within British politics and society, and the divisiveness also within American society as well. I've written in many global publications that Trump is Britain's greatest unsung hero. And while that might sound hyperbolic, it's worth saying, Carol, that he is our most Anglophilic president in recent memory and a great blessing for the special relationship since Biden's defeat. Biden and Obama were among the most damaging, disdainful, and dismissive to our great ally and mother country. And Trump is certainly its staunchest ally on the world stage. And to your question, what does he hope to get out of this? Trump, as I said, is by nature an Anglophile, as am I. Trump is a great supporter, perhaps the greatest global supporter of the US-UK relationship. He takes great pride in his British-Scottish heritage. He had a great deal of affection for the late beloved Queen, affection and certainly admiration. And that continues to her family, certainly to the King, and as we've seen, very warm relations with Prince William when they had their meeting this summer in Paris at the Notre Dame commemoration ceremony.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry.
No, I'm just going to say you mentioned the divisive nature of politics, and of course that has been exposed even more in the United States, hasn't it, with the death of Charlie Kirk? And we saw today the Vice President, J.D. Vance, actually hosting Charlie Kirk's podcast as a tribute to the young influencer who was shot while addressing students. And J.D. Vance criticised those who had celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk.
There is no unity with people who scream at children over their parents' politics. There is no unity with someone who lies about what Charlie Kirk said in order to excuse his murder. There is no unity with someone who harasses an innocent family the day after the father of that family lost a dear friend. There is no unity with the people who celebrate Charlie Kirk's assassination. And there is no unity with the people who fund these articles, who pay the salaries of these terrorist sympathizers, who argue that Charlie Kirk, a loving husband and father, deserved a shot to the neck because he spoke words with which they disagree.
Well, that was J.D. Vance speaking earlier today. And I mean, what it makes clear is just how important that whole agenda of free speech is to the vice president, but of course to President Trump as well. Do you think that's something that's going to be raised?
Well, I'm hoping actually that it is raised because, certainly, uh, and unfortunately, the UK has made itself, known as a concern on free speech, so much so that an actual State Department report earlier this summer labeled it as a concern to free speech. And, President Trump, J.D. Vance, and notably Elon Musk have raised this. But, I contend that this is also certainly on the minds of the British people. And, Trump has a talent, I think, for speaking the voice of what's on the minds of the people, sometimes in a way that's not perhaps, received well in Britain, because he's certainly very outspoken. But, I feel that that's one of his great talents. And, he rushes in where angels fear to tread. So, will he raise this? The interesting thing is that Trump and Starmer are polar opposites when it comes to policy on so many issues. I think that Starmer is somewhat spooked by the flag, and Trump revels in the flag. He revels in outward signs of patriotic support. Starmer and Trump are, completely at odds policy-wise on everything from immigration to taxes to energy policy, to so many things. And yet they seem to have a very cordial relationship. And the British press have certainly noted that.
Yeah, and one of the papers here in London tonight is suggesting that President Trump will go easy on Keir Starmer, the embattled Keir Starmer, who's going through a very rough patch indeed. I mean, just almost on the eve of President Trump's visit, we've had this huge row, which I'm sure may have crossed your radar,
Yes.
about which led to the sacking of Lord Mandelson as the British ambassador to Washington over his links to Jeffrey Epstein. Do you think that President Trump will be concerned that those questions about Epstein, which have also dogged the president, are going to be raised further while he's over here in the UK?
Well, here's what I think President Trump will be concerned about. I think he's concerned that Keir Starmer's government seems to be having these catastrophic problems with Rayner, with Lord Mandelson. Not only that, Mandelson and the Trump administration had, projects in process, trade deals and technology deals and things like that. And this is certainly very disruptive. The timing couldn't be worse. And I think those are the most alarming things on the president's mind.
You mean the disruption to the relationship and those ongoing discussions about trade deals?
That and, what kind of government are we dealing with in the UK? Is it unstable? Because, two major figures, and the timing couldn't have been worse for Lord Mandelson's crisis, his sacking, because, it comes days before the president's state visit.
And I mean, just finally, one of the things that we know the British government wants to do is actually to pin down that trade deal. It wasn't a full deal, but a deal on tariffs. But there still hasn't been properly implemented. There are still all kinds of very high tariffs on certain products, which include steel. Do you think that there is the prospect that this visit can be a way of opening the gates to actually getting that deal sorted?
I think it can. Look, a state visit is very important diplomatically mainly because of the monarchy, which allows Britain, particularly in this day and age, and forgive me for saying this, but to punch above its weight because it has something so almost irresistible to the world, the pageantry, and the United States is a wealthy country with great resources, and we can't buy that. All the money in the world can't buy, more than 2 millennia of history and the castles and the carriages and the jewels. And, certainly President Trump is impressed by those things, as are so many of us. I had the very good fortune to meet the late beloved Queen in Washington, D.C. in 2007 when she came for her last state visit to the United States. And I can tell you it was an awe-inspiring experience. And that's what President Trump, he's already had one back in 2019, but he's about to have an unprecedented second one, Carol. And so that is so significant. And I think that's what everyone should be focusing on. But with that great soft power and all of that tradition and all of that pageantry comes, influence to make trade deals and to have other accords and agreements. And that goes so far, even with the political differences of whoever's in number 10, for this administration, that soft power of the monarchy can really pave over a lot of those differences and drive a lot of goodwill indeed.
Lee Cohen, former advisor on the UK to the US House of Representatives Foreign Affairs Committee. It's been great to speak to you tonight. Thank you so much.
So lovely. Thank you so much for having me.
That was Lee Cohen speaking there.